This is a Sports Catastrophe production.
Hey there, Heather. Hello there. It's Jeff Cutter Diamond. Welcome you to another Sports Catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, September the 13th. What is a former NHL goalie who was king of the world in 2002 in the NHL, winning both the Vezina for top goalie and the Hart for top player. That was the peak of his career. He also spent time in Colorado, Washington, Minnesota, and Florida. And did a lot of things. So he was a good player in the NHL, and he's going to be celebrated for it today. His name is Jose Theodore, who's 48 years old. Theodore would play Major Junior with St. John, then Hall. At age 16, he began his Major Junior season in 93 and then would become the star goalie for Hall. And Montreal decided, despite the fact that Theodore was 9 games below 500, he would be drafted in the 1994 NHL draft. Montreal used a second-round pick on him. And goalies that were drafted ahead of him, well, the Rangers drafted Dan Cloutier 26th. Boston drafted Evgeny Rybakov 21st. The Leafs would draft Eric Fischel 16th. And the LA Kings would draft Jamie Story number 7. But it didn't really work out that way. And Jose Theodore was the best of the second round in a sense. He went back to St. John upon being drafted, but was traded to Hull and helped them win the President's Cup as Quebec League champions, winning the Guy Lafleur Trophy for MVP of the playoffs. Hull went to the 95 Memorial Cup but fell in last place, so they couldn't do anything about it. And then he went to the AHL after the major junior playoffs. He played his fourth and final year in Quebec with Hull in 1996. Hull failed to defend their Quebec League title. And Beauport would knock out Hull in the semifinal. So anyway, he was basically splitting time with the Habs and the Triple and the AHL team Fredericton. He made his Stanley Cup playoffs debut in 1997, winning a 4-3 triple overtime game against the Devils, making 56 saves. In that triple overtime game, that's Patrice Brisebois score a goal to prevent the Devils from sweeping the Habs, although the Devils would win Game 5, and that was the game Brodeur scored the goal. He would play in 3 playoff games for the Habs against the Sabres in the second round of the 98 playoffs, despite not playing in the regular season for them. But by 2000, he was sharing starts with Jeff Hackett in the Montreal net. In his first full season, Theodore was 12, 13, and 2 with 5 shutouts, which was weird because, 12 wins and 5 shutouts. He would soon become the starting goalie for Montreal in the 2001 season, winning 29-5. Despite that, he did make history as he was the 6th goalie to score directly a goal in the NHL, as he attempted to clear the puck in the defensive zone against the New York Islanders up 2-0 and with the net empty and flipping it into the empty net. But even more impressive than that, he was the first goalie to directly score a goal and record a shutout in the same game, as Montreal would beat the Islanders 3-0. But in 2002, things were different. He was a world-class goalie. He put up 30 wins, a 211 goals against, a 931 save percentage. So anyway, it was huge. Well, Montreal were the 8th and final seed in the Eastern Conference and were in the playoffs for the first time in 4 years. And of course, Montreal had problems because, they were sold to George Gillette, an American. But thankfully, though, he let the team stay in Montreal. Theodore was fantastic as the Habs upset the Bruins in 6 games in the first round. And let's not forget that 6 save he made in game 6, robbing, I believe it was Bill Guerin. Yeah, robbing Bill Guerin of a tying goal. Montreal would fall in the second round in 6 games to Carolina, although that the miracle at Molson when Carolina was down 3-0 in game 4 and were on the precipice of being down 3-1 in the series, rallied back and won that game, and Montreal lost their momentum. Theodore would win the Hart and Vezina, taking care of business against Joe McGilla and Patrick Waugh. Weirdly enough, Theodore actually tied McGilla and Waugh for voting points, but he had more first place votes over those two, so that's why he was the Hart and Vezina champion. Unfortunately, in 2003, he could not match his Hart-winning trophy thing in 2002 with a 290 goals against average and a losing record. But he would bounce back in 2004 with a 227 goals against average. And during that season, he was there when he was starting goalie when Montreal faced Edmonton in the Heritage Classic, the first ever outdoor hockey game, regular season outdoor hockey game, I should say, at Commonwealth Stadium in Edmonton in very frigid temperatures. Montreal won the game 4-3. Theodore would famously wear a toque over his goalie helmet and help them win. The Habs were the 7th seed in 2004, upsetting the Bruins for the second time in 3 years in a 7-game series that saw Montreal down 3-1 but pull off a rally. But Tampa swept them in 4. During the lockout in 2005, he played for Shergarden. And in 2006, it was actually revealed that he failed a random drug test prior to the 06 Winter Olympics. But it was caused by prescription hair loss medication, Propecia, which Theodore had taken legally for 8 years. But it's a drug that can be used as a masking agent for a performance-enhancing drug, Ninandrone. He was given a 2-year international suspension, but the NHL did not punish him because he applied and received approval for that exception. Unfortunately, though, Theodore's play was hit hard, and Christopher Huey was coming through for the Habs. Consequently, the Habs decided to trade him to Colorado for David Abisher. Theodore was on the IR. He strained his Achilles tendon after slipping on the ice outside his home. But he played in the last 5 regular season Avalanche games and did not do well. He was still named starting goalie of the playoffs over Peter Budaj. Fortunately, though, for him, Colorado did win to the second round, but they lost to the Ducks. He lost the starting role to Budaj by 2007. He had a resurgence in 2008 and helped the Avalanche make the second round of the playoffs, but lost to the Red Wings. He would sign a 2-year, $9 million deal in the offseason with Washington. He replaced Olive Kolzig and Christopher Huey, who had departed in free agency. So Theodore was hoping to help Washington out with young talents and all that. They were the 2nd seed in 2009. And after a terrible Game 1 loss to the Rangers, he was practically benched for the rest of the series and pulled for Semyon Varlamov. Washington would actually come back from 3-1 in that series, down in that series to take down the Rangers. But anyway, Theodore put up 30 wins in 2010 and ended the season on a 20-win, 4 overtime/shootout loss streak, 20-0-4. He started the playoffs, but unfortunately was replaced by Varlamov by game 2. So Theodore would not play a net against his former club, Montreal, in the first round after game 1. Montreal came back from 3-1 down against Washington, which was weird that, Washington was up 3-1 and had the comeback done to them as they had done it to the Rangers the previous year. So anyway, Theodore did win the Masterton Trophy for perseverance in 2010. So anyway, Minnesota had a problem because their backup goalie, Josh Harding, actually tore the ACL and MCL, which meant he had to miss the 2011 season. Minnesota needed a backup for Nick Backstrom, so they signed him to a 1-year, $1 million contract. Theodore won 15 games for the Wild. And then in free agency, Florida signed him to a 2-year, $3 million deal to be the new number one for the Panthers. He got the Panthers to the 2012 playoffs, which was the first time in 12 years the Panthers had done such a thing. But the Panthers would lose Game 7 in double overtime to Adam Henrique's goal. And it was huge. He was not retained by the club in 2013, and he basically retired. So Theodore was a pretty good player and all that, helping Team Canada win the 96 World Juniors. All that. His father, Ted Theodore, is of Macedonian descent, and his mother is of Spanish descent. Which was bad because his father and half-brother pleaded guilty to loan sharking charges. Fortunately, though, Ted Theodore was given a $30,000 fine, no jail time. Theodore has one child with his wife, Stephanie. Unfortunately, he had a son, but he died at 2 months old. So in the regular season for Montreal, Colorado, Washington, Minnesota, and Florida, he won 286 games for them. For those teams with 33 shutouts, 21-30 in the postseason. He didn't get the Habs or any team to the conference finals, so he never played in the Final Four. So yeah, he was player of MVP in '95 in the Quebec League for Hull. Got to the Memorial Cup, but they sucked, I guess. Won the Vezina in the Hart 2002. Vezina for goalie of the year, Hart from MVP, two-time All-Star game participant, and winning the Masters in 2010. So, Montreal had their big goalie moments, and Jose Theodore did well for Montreal in the early 2000s. Just wish he kept the momentum going. Anyhow, I'm Jeff Diamond.